Shambho, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. So we were discussing Tatra Dhyana Jamanashaya. Dhyanajam Anashaya. This Tatra Dhyanajam Anashayam. Dhyanajam Anashayam. When you split it. Dhyanajam Anashayam. Dhyanajam Anashayam. So we described quite a lot on this subject, the mind, the diversifications of the mind, which has caused all the complications, or repeated births in order to experience various karmas. Without knowing, being ignorant about how to acquire the liberation with execution of the right karmas and right dharma. Within the individual minds, those separated minds did not bother or did not understand or did not put its effort in order to find out the right method of living, find out the right method of experiencing, find out the right method of path for liberation is the reason why this repetition of experiencing had to happen. We ourselves, as I told you in the previous class also, when you look at each individual, you see that from the childhood, we are stuck with the basic understanding of certain principles of execution of life, and only through that basic intuition or basic understanding only one functions. Never tried to change the basics of the principle of living. And without knowing that these principles of mind has been established in us as not as a permanent one, but from the experiences that has been undergoing by the mind, by the Janma in previous number of births. They have no basis. They are only based on your experiences, whatever experiences through your emotions that you have functioned. They have stored these as principles, these are the methods, and through which one starts functioning. Well, this cannot be avoided. Karma cannot be avoided. Anybody who is born, whether he is a rishi, brahmachari, yaksha, dhanava, or for that matter, manava, everyone has to undergo the process of karma. Once one is born, it cannot be avoided. But only thing, execution of karmas without creating the enjoyment of the results of karma has to be learnt. And this is where this dhyanajam, anashayam, dhyanajam anashayam. Dhyana, that the mind which is born will automatically be directed towards the principles of the dharmam and jnanam, that which is inherent in prakriti, and executes the karmas without creating a karma phala in his mind. And he who does that finds the way and method for liberation. That is why every Shastra is insisting of not getting these afflictions towards how the desires, attachments and attractions through which the ignorant identification of enjoyment of karmas takes place, through which the basis of living has been established by the mind. Every time one is born with all the experiences that has incurred during that particular life, that which has been stored through the udana and executes the karmas repeatedly through the same basic principles or with additional karma phalas. So keep on accruing the karma phala from each janma. The principles changes. That is why there are lots of confusions in execution of karmas. Even if it is only one karma phala that has been assimilated and accrued, one would do it without any thinking, without any confusion. But this being, various principles have been accumulated in various janmas, various experiences have been accumulated since various janmas, all that has become the basic principles of execution of karma in this life. Depending upon situations, circumstances and identities, those experiences, whichever is convenient to the mind, it starts using them. And by the utility of those ignorant or not knowledgeable principles that is there inherent and which is not compatible with the prakriti swabhava, which is called as maya again, which is prakriti swabhava, the results of the execution of such karmas either creates confusion or same unwanted results produced out of it, and that unnecessarily have to be carried by one for the next janma. He did not put an effort in order to transform the mind into its own original possibility. Like a person who has abandoned the house, started roaming around looking for life, living, peace and earnings, things like that. He experiences all those things. Even though all the problems are there, he undergoes all that and he dies like that. But he never thinks of coming back home. Another kind of them, even though they leave the home, saints and sannyasis and brahmacharis, for them the whole world is a home. Why? Because the identity of the home comfort, he finds it in the whole universe. He doesn't have any attractions, attachments, special attractions and attachments, and a firm, manifested, manipulated basis for the purpose of living, but he starts living according to the principles provided by the prakriti. He puts an effort for his mind not to get attracted to those materialistic or bhautic pleasures which is not truth. Every time he gets attracted, he puts an effort. By his effort, he stops it and turns it towards the reality. He doesn't look for the pleasures from the objects, because those pleasures from the objects he has understood by his learnings, by his studies of Shastras, by his efforts. He has understood that these are not the ones which is going to give me the path for the liberation. So he just rejected them. Knowingly, not wanting them, he doesn't get attracted to it. We also do so many things even in our own material life itself. There are certain things which we say that I don't need it, it's not for me, why should I have it? Unnecessary botheration, accumulating them. So I don't want it, I don't want to take it, that's all, please forget about it. This kind of attitude has to come towards all the pleasures. Then only this mind can go to Dhyanajam and Ashayam. So those which are tempered and directed by the meditation become free from the useless habits and scattered activities. Scattered activities. The activity should be only the purpose of liberation. All the others should be sub-activities. For the purpose of liberation should be the only activity in life. But one, as I told you last class also, that doesn't mean that one will not execute their kartavyas. They will, having accumulated the karma phalas in the mind, through that, in order to fulfill them, they have to execute karmas, and through which they fulfill the kartavyas, they fulfill the karmas. But this, if this is done through the dhyanajaya, dhyana nirata mana, that which is constantly on the meditative state. Meditative state, dhihi, as I told you, what is meditation? Dhyanam is that through the buddhi diverted towards the, or oriented towards the absolute jnanam. Reflecting to the jnanam, the buddhi, the bodham, the consciousness becomes the tool for execution of karmas. Today the intelligence and the karma phalas, the results, are the basis of execution of karmas for the normal human being. Whereas in a brahmachari or in a saint or in a right person for wanting to have the liberation, his mind will be the reflection of the Atma, or reflection from the Jnanam, through which the execution of karmas and kartavyas will be done. Both are executing their kartavyas and karmas. Once born, whether it is, as I told you, whether it is Deva, Dhanava, or whether it is Rakshas, whether it is anyone for that matter, all of them have to execute their karmas, but the ones which have acquired the meditative mind, where the attractions are not diverted into unwanted activities, he executes the same karmas and kartavyas as the other person. But he doesn't accumulate the karma phalas, whereas fulfill the kartavyas in the right manner. Whereas the one who is ignorant, not having concentrated, not having studied, not having undergone the experience of turning the mind towards the reality of the jnanam or the consciousness, he will suffer by the impacts of the wrongdoings of execution of karmas and kartavyas. This is where the confusions and the sufferings come. It's a very important subject, has to be understood, and this causes only because of the desires, which doesn't have any beginning, or which doesn't have, there is an end to it. But for desires there is no beginning, because it's a chain reaction. So it is the desires and the attachments and attractions that creates this ignorance in the mind of not going into meditative status of mind. One has to live in the meditative status of mind, in the sense there are priorities fixed with knowingly, not that unknowingly. For some saints and some gurus, they do certain things. For some, it will appear to be absolutely wrong. But he knows where he is going actually. Because a normal person doesn't know what is his experience, that what he is undergoing for the purpose of staying in the meditative state of mind. Others doesn't understand. Okay? So what happens? If they misinterpret the actions or just imitate those actions. Just imitating those actions does not bring the mind into meditative state of mind. Imitation cannot bring the revelation of the consciousness. It is the studies and the effort and the understanding and perceiving capacity, perception, is that what brings the consciousness to be revealed, or the understanding, so that One goes into the right path, not by imitation. Imitation is only very superficial. It's only a sort of cheating the mind, what we call it as that. So this is why he said that when it meditates, become free from the useless habits and scattering activities. Habits which are not useful, useless. All the habits that you form should be useful for you. Useful in the sense not that you enjoy them. They are to be useful. What is that useful? Useful is again, useful is a very relative term. Useful for what? The materialist will say that it is useful for me for enjoying the pleasures. So useful is a very relative term. Useful here, according to Vedantic principles, useful in the sense that which is useful for your Atma. Because we are discussing about the consciousness and Atma and how to liberate. So that should be useful for that. What is useful for the purpose of liberation only should be done by the individual or the brahmachari. Is called the meditative mind, constantly being in the Dhyanam. When you know to close the eyes and sit for the meditation, the mind, when it is oriented towards the highest consciousness and reflected on that, the mind becomes, what is the meditation here? Mind is always on meditation towards the consciousness, meditating on the consciousness. Now the mind is meditating. Now it's also mind is meditating. But mind is meditating on the scattered activities and unwanted habits. It's meditating actually. It's also meditating because that's also concentrating, that's also meditating. That's why it is executing certain karmas. So anything is called a meditative mind. Now here the meditative mind is that because we don't call meditating on pleasures, we don't call it as meditation because for that mind need not to have that effort to be put in because it gets automatically attracted to. But whereas in order to have the liberation and to have the consciousness revealed in the mind, consciousness revealed in the mind and consciousness being reflected in the mind, conscious being projected in the mind, one has to have a constant meditation, focusing. Yesterday we spoke about the concentration and focusing towards the consciousness. So the difference between concentration and focus we discussed already. So based on that, let's focus towards that so that constantly being meditative towards consciousness. So now it is constantly being meditative towards the material pleasures, that's all. So it will only look for that. Whichever the mind you have trained for focusing, it will focus on that and then starts experiencing through that. So an effort has to be made. That's why we are unable to change our habits. We say the habits once formed cannot be changed. But that which has got a beginning, there has to be an end. If I have started a habit, I can stop it also. There is no doubt about it. But why am I not able to stop it? Because I don't want to stop it. Or my mind doesn't want to stop it. And we have an excuse for that. Certain habits, it's all by Janmana, I cannot change that habit. No, it's not that. All habits can be changed. All habits have to be changed. All scattered thoughts have to be changed. Because habits means that by you doing it from time and again, it becomes a habit. That's why habitual. Habitually doing things constantly, it becomes a habit. If you change that routine, the other one will become a habit. So make a mind habitual towards focusing towards the consciousness instead of focusing towards the material side of it. So when this happens, that habit which will be promoting you, so that will not be called as a habit then. Here the habits and scattered thoughts or scattered activities are specifically meant for the mind's uncertainty of focusing, mind's uncertainty of execution of karmas in the right manner. It doesn't have a basis of it. It's all doing it on a trial and error method. If it happens, happens. Doesn't happen, doesn't happen. It can become good, it can become bad. It takes chances always. Who takes chances? The one who doesn't know exactly what is to be done. So they say, let us take a chance. Why that situation comes, that let us take a chance? Because I'm not aware, I'm not knowledgeable about that what I'm supposed to do. Is why I have to take a chance. Taking chance is not a brahmachari's kartavya or a true person who has got acquired the consciousness. It is not his kartavya. He firmly believes and understands, perceives certain things, moves in that direction. So he doesn't have any problems, he doesn't have any confusions, he doesn't have any dukkha, he doesn't have any kashta, he doesn't have any karma phalas creating out of it. This is the meditative status of mind. The other one, changing from one to other every time, cannot be called as a meditative state of mind. A meditative state of mind is permanently, constantly being at a particular object, focusing on a particular object is called a meditative state. So this is what one has to understand about the Dhyanam. Dhyana Jarmana Anashayam. So Maharshi, in the 7th sloka, he says, Karma Shukla Krishnam Yoginis Trividham Itaresham. Karma Shukla Krishnam Yoginas Trividham Itaresham. Yoginaha Trividham Itaresham. Yoginaha, for yogis, karma means itaram. Karma is neither white, black or grey. For others it is threefold. Trividham. For others it is Trividham. Karma, Shukla, Krishna, white and black. Shukla, Krishna, white and black. For others it is white and black and whatever it is. But yogi, Itaresha, doesn't have Itara. That means for him there are no colors, but what is that meaning? Yes. For a yogi, karma is objectively worked out. His subject doesn't change. Inside he doesn't change. Objectively, but there's sort of many things we objectively work out. Should be. Kartavya has to be objectively worked out. Should not be. It should not affect you. Without affecting you. That means today every activity that we do affects our thought process, mind. That's why we suffer on that. We kashta, we have got misunderstandings, we have got anger, we have got other things. And kashta, dukkha, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, all that. They are all happening because we get involved in it. It is subjectively done. It is subjectively done. It has to be objectively executed as separate from you. It's not a very easy thing. It's very easily said than done, no doubt. It's not possible. That means you have to do it, but you should not involve yourself. Oh, many people say that. This is a big subject of discussion. I have seen many people. How can you do something without involvement? Everybody says that you have to, involve yourself and execute a karma. How without involvement, how can one do it? I have seen many people asking, many Swamijis, great people who have read Vedas, who have studied Upanishads, who have studied Shastras, they are asking, tell me, how can you do something without involvement? For a common man who is attached and attracted towards materialistic world, what they say is right. It is not possible for them to do something without involvement, because it is involvement that makes them understand things. They cannot understand things and then do it. They do it and then understand it. Not that they understand it and do it. This is the principle. If you understand and do it, there is no involvement. If you do it and understand it, there is involvement. Why? You are getting a karma phala. You are understanding from the karma phala. After accruing the karma phala, you are understanding it. Is called doing it and understanding it. And the other one, understanding it and do it, where involvement will not be there. If you understand that something and then execute it, you will not have an involvement. Involvement doesn't mean that your personal activity or physically doing it or mentally thinking doesn't mean that involvement. Involvement in the sense that which doesn't cause the karma phala is called non-involvement. That which causes the karma phala is involvement. See, the problem is that when we start English and the Sanskrit, that is where the people have heard that one person, one film actress who claims to be very knowledgeable in Vedic science and all, asking a Swamiji that, you tell me, Swami, yes, I have read so many things. And she is she is a lady. She is very firmly telling him that, look, don't tell me, this is the first thing, don't tell me that do karma without involvement. He has not even told something, but before that itself, don't tell me without do something without involvement. How can one do something without involvement? And then she claims that I have read this, I have read this, I have read this, I have read this, I have read that, and I have read, but I am still in red. I am still in RED. I don't know what I think he did not properly direct that. He must have felt there's no use talking to this one. That's why that Swamiji, who is a knowledgeable person, he did not properly, according to me, not properly reply to that. I would like to tell you that according to me, I don't know whether I'm right, according to me, Nisangatva bhavena. This is a great subject which is always discussed and confused. And this cannot be understood by a person who lives in material science, the material world. In Bhautika Jivan, a person who lives in with an understanding that it is the material that is giving me pleasure, for him it is impossible for making this subject understandable. Why? Because in order to enjoy through the material, the involvement is necessary. There are few steps we have to go through very carefully, then only one can understand it. In order to enjoy the material outside world or material bhutam, in order to understand the bhuta, one has to get involved in it, then only we can do it. Why he has to get involved in it? Because he doesn't have it in him. When he doesn't have it in him, because the object is not in the subject, when he doesn't have the object, the objective pleasure in him, he has to look for pleasure in the object, so his involvement has to be there. And this is one. Second point is that when he involves in that, he doesn't know what kind of pleasure you are going to derive out of that. Does anyone know? Let us analyze ourselves, no problem. Small things. Let it be food, let it be clothes, let it be a holiday resort, let it be your own house, let it be each and every small activity. We don't have to take big things. Do you know that how you will feel even though you have gone to that room number of times? Can I exactly tell? I can tell about based on the past I can tell. How will I feel when I enter into that room? But can you really explain, this time when I enter, how will I feel? Can you? It's a small exception. We are eating everything, every time. The same roti, the same rice or same vegetable, that what you cook. Every time, let me taste first. Even though you have eaten it for 30 years. But it may not be the same experience that you are experiencing in the same one. You have to taste it, then only you will understand it. This is called, in order to enjoy the object, you have to involve and then you get the, today's roti is not exactly as yesterday's roti. Today you say the taste is this, or you yourself feel it, no? Similarities may be there, but it's not exactly same. Or any other, I'm just talking about small things so that easy to perceive. Big things also you take. You talk about knowledge, you talk about understanding the Upanishad, you talk about revelation of the self, you talk about any other things, involvement. One is an involvement involuntarily done. Another is an involvement voluntarily done. When I am talking about involvement, I have to go into it. Just let me go. Involvement, there are two kinds. One is involuntary involvement and voluntary involvement. Involuntary involvement is that what I explained to you now. Going to the room, eating roti. There are no routinely it is going on now. So we don't bother what is an slight differences of experience. From morning till now that inside the room temperature is different. Your mind status is different. You feel happy, you don't feel happy. Sometimes you go inside, feel like sitting. Sometimes you go inside, let me go out of this place. You change, is it not? They are all involuntary involvement. They are all called as involuntary involvement. They are based on the experiences that you are undergoing involuntarily, that immediately you attend it, and then it has no purpose actually, but you experience it. They are involuntary involvement in the experience. That's called involvement. And then voluntary involvements are there. Like when I told about the actors, let me talk about acting only. Tell me honestly, after casting a character in the movie or in the drama, when you come out, are you the same character? That's why we call it as acting. You act as a beggar, but when you come out, you are a rich man. Okay? You act as so because he is paid for begging. Movie pays few lakhs of rupees. Actors ask that XYZ, big famous actors as Coolie and what is that? So many names are there. Beggar and all that, drunkard. For them, for acting that, they are paid. So when you come out of that, you are not that beggar, you are a very rich man. But when you are acting, you are voluntarily involving yourself, is what I am trying to tell you. Alright? You know that you are not that. You know that you are acting, you are putting up an act only for a particular cause. It's okay, good. I am not talking whether it is bad or good. No. Everything is good. But he is putting up an act according to that. Right. During the process, okay, that's acting. During the process of an execution of karma as a minister, on a government level, he did something for the public. Honestly he did not that cheating people. He wanted to do some help and he did it. Because of some circumstances, it has turned out to be something, some calamity has taken place out of it. Some people died out of it. This is also a voluntary involvement, knowingly that it can happen. It may not happen, but intention is good. It's okay. For a good cause I am doing it, but doesn't know what are the results happening. It's also an involuntary involvement. Voluntary involvement. An actor acting is also voluntary involvement. Sometimes when he is acting, he really feels. Suppose there is a sad scene he has to act. Sometimes some of the actors who are totally into it, we say that, his involvement is 100% in that. Involvement is 100% in that. He involves himself 100% in that. He really cries. Not artificial cry. He really feels sad. Even after coming out of it for a few days, if it is a very sensitive acting that he has done, some of the people who are very much attached to that character, it may remain with him for quite some time and then it vanishes off. But it vanishes off. They are all voluntary involvement. You are writing a letter. It's a voluntary involvement. Am I right? You got it? So these are the things. There are voluntary involvements, involuntary involvements. They are all involvements. Even while writing, you get emotional. Yeah? Suppose you are writing an emotional letter, you get emotion on that while writing. While writing itself, you get emotional. While reading a letter, you get emotional. Somebody closer to you sends you a letter or something, you get emotional. They are all voluntary involvements. Now these voluntary involvements has the effect of creating a karma phala after executing that karma. Letter came from so and so. Before reading, you do not know the subject. Otherwise, before reading itself, you should cry, Then read the letter. That doesn't happen. After reading the letter, you cry. Am I right? Before reading the letter, you don't laugh. After reading if it is a joke, after reading the letter, you laugh. Why did you laugh before? Because I didn't have the experience of that. Got my point? After experiencing, you create a karma phala, not the consciousness out of it or learning out of it. You are creating a karma phala. This is called involvement. Voluntary involvement and involuntary involvement. In both cases, you accrue karma phalas. Right. Then what is the other one? What is the meditative? What am I talking to? Yeah. Without it, some interview I said, without involvement. Without involvement, how to function? How not to create karma phalas is what we are talking. Even kartavya can be done without involvement. Karma can be done without involvement. We are all doing it every day with involvement and without involvement. These are all with involvement. Without involvement, there are certain things which we carry. Well, in practicality, there is very rare things that we do without involvement doing it. Many things which becomes a habit. Which becomes a habit or which becomes known to you. Let me put it at that. Known to you. Okay. I have put an air conditioner and it is cooling. Before going into the room, I know that I am going to have that particular temperature to affecting my body. I know it. Okay. There is no effort for knowing that whether it is cold or not. Okay. There's no effort when you go inside. You take it as for granted that it is cold. Are you having any effect on that? Are you having any learning after that? No. You have already known it beforehand. You have learned it before itself that it is cold and I am going to the cold region. Not that after going to the cold, oh, it is cold. No. Are you getting the difference? I am going to Himalayas, I know it. I take my jacket, I put it on, all that. I know it is cold. And I am going into the cold. Is there karma that you are doing without involvement? There, your involvement is not. It automatically happens. And you are not. So what happens? Then your analytical mind doesn't analyze it or create a karma phala out of it and store it in you. No, it's not happening. Anything that is done, knowing it beforehand and then doing it, after having the knowledge and executing a karma will not create a karma phala. Is that what it is? That is why the whole principle of Bhagavad Gita has to be understood in the right perspective by the people. That many people say that why Bhagavan has described Bhagavad Gita just before the war takes place to Arjuna. Why not 10 years before, or 2 years before, or 10 days before? Even though so many discussions have happened, why he did not tell this, why it has happened only at that point of time. There are few reasons for that. One is that it was not asked by Arjuna to tell him the knowledge. He did not have the Vishada Yoga. For that to remedy, it's a remedy, he has to tell. This is the one reason. Second is that to create, otherwise what happened? He will have a voluntary involvement in the war. I am killing the people. And voluntary involvement. I am a warrior, I am a Dhanurdhari, I am a blessed Dhanurdhari and I can kill so many, I can do this, I can do this. With that ahankara in him, he will start doing it. Is called the voluntary involvement. And after happening only, then he will know. When he sends the arrows Bhishma, then he gets an arrow from Bhishma, then only he know that, I have to be careful. It's not the right place. Now what happens? That is voluntary involvement. Bhagavan wanted that he should have no voluntary involvement. He should execute his karmas. He tells also, do your karma without enjoying the results, expectation or enjoyment of results. So in order to make that tattva, really truly practical, he advises the whole Bhagavad Gita so that his mind says that even though I am the one who is fighting, Bhagavan has already told that it is not you who is fighting. It is someone else fighting through you. That's all. You do not have any. You do not have to enjoy the results or be sad about the results. Enjoy the results, sad or happy, whatever it is. You see the principle is why just before the war he has told him so that he has a knowledge of the war and then he is executing it knowing that he is not the one who is doing it. Am I clear? Is it clear? Whereas Duryodhana and others are concerned, they say that I have done this, I have killed. So even the Chakravyuh, the great men have surrounded the Abhimanyu. They say that, yes, they take pride in that we killed him. We killed him. Whereas that pride is not in Arjuna. Why? Because Bhagavan has already explained the Bhagavad Gita. This is called the principle. So the mind, when it is not involved in it, he executes his karmas without karma phala. So, do you understand now? I hope I have answered that lady's question also. That without involvement, how can you execute it? Yes, now, for that person who has asked, or for somebody else, for other people who are attached with bhautik, materialistic way of living, it is difficult for them. No doubt about it. What she has told is right. That without involvement, they cannot do it. Why? Because they have been trained, and they have been trained, and they have trained their minds in order to acquire pleasures from the objects and enjoy or lead the life according to that. So when a person is dependent on that, so it all started, that Trividham karma shukla krishna. Now for them, the karma is either happy or sad. Shukla, Krishna. Whereas for a yogi, it is just a karma. There is no dukkha, there is no sukha. Everything is a sukha only. There is no dukkha. Dukkha, in order to attain dukkha, you have to put an effort. You know that? And for having sukha, no effort is necessary. I know the principle, the myth. Now we won't understand this. We always say that. We always said that for sukha we want an effort, but for dukkha automatically happens. No, it's not like that. Dukkha happens and sukha, sukha is there. So in order to create dukkha, you have to put an effort. Why? Now this principle is something very strange, no? Why? Because dukkha happens as a reaction. Sukha happens by an action. Sukha happens by an action, dukkha happens by a reaction. So it's why dukkha needs an effort. It's not. In order to become dukkhi, you have to do something wrong. No doubt. Huh? Is it not? Tell me honestly. We have to do some teda-meda, crooked things in order to become dukkhi. Knowingly, unknowingly, whatever it is. You can define them. Unknowingly done sorry and all that. Any amount of sorry, all have been accepted. But what to do? Dukkha has come. Like if the sorry cannot remove the dukkha. Okay? We say we have done a mistake and sorry. By telling that sorry, can you remove that man's dukkha by your words or by your deeds? Can you remove? Sorry having done that. Have you removed his dukkha? Have you removed your dukkha? That why did I do it? For dukkha you have to do, dukkha happens, a reaction is the dukkha. A karma's reaction is dukkha. But when you don't do that reaction, when you don't execute something which doesn't react, that status is sukha only. When there is no dukkha, that is sukha. Very simple calculation. Standing in sukha, they would like to have some changes. That's how the yugas have come. Treta Yuga, Dwapara, Kali Yuga. Mind gets stagnant on that. Yogi does, a great yogi does the tapasya acquired so much of powers for the purpose of liberation. The powers automatically come, as I told you, but he acquired it. And after acquiring it, now you see the crooked mind. Till then he was okay. Till he acquired the powers, he was a perfect man. After having acquired the power, he said, let me try whether it works or not. Here he uses the power for something. Let me just put it. There comes dukkha. Finished. Reaction. Got it? How it is? Even the great people have done this mistake of great doing it. They wanted to experiment the God's blessing that you have got this boon, or during tapasya these powers have come. He doesn't want to believe it, he wants to experience it. That desire, that inherent quality of desire, maya in you, have to be controlled, have to be diverted into, focus towards that knowledge, so that this desire should not arise. Automatically you should know that this is there and this is meant for such and such thing. And using that power for that particular purpose, a brahmachari uses that power, a rishi uses that power for the purpose of the execution of karmas and kartavyas only. But he gains the benefit of it, of non-involvement into the Nisangatvada. This is called Nisangatvada. So that's the difference between that, no? What is that involvement and non-involvement? The language is very different. That's why one gets confused also. What is that? Involvement and non-involvement. In Sanskrit it has been told Nisangatvam and Sangatvam. Nisangatvam. The literal meaning of Nisangatvam, Nasangatvada is Nisangatvam. Doesn't mean non-involvement. I mean, when you translate, but even though it's in English, it is non-involvement, or maybe it is. Karma has to be executed based on the principle of Nisangatva Bhavena. We have told about that. You remember that sometimes some few slokas back in the previous chapter, third chapter, we have explained about Nirbijatattvam, Nirbijatvam. Nirbijatvam, Nirbija Samadhi. That you do not create a seed out of your action, so which can again multiply afterwards. Nirbijatvam, Nirbija Samadhi. Nisangatvam, Nisangat, Nirbijatvam, Nisangat, Nirbija Samadhi. Then the word, no? Every day I say that word. When Asamprajnata Samadhi. Asamprajnata Samadhi. Asamprajnata Samadhi. Samprajnata, Asamprajnata. Asamprajnata Samadhi. Samprajnata Samadhi is that knowing, expecting something to be received. Asamprajnata Samadhi, which is told. Or Nirbijatva, Nirbija Samadhi. Asamprajnata Samadhi. So, Nisangatvam. Nisangatvam. Nishkama karmam. Nishkama bhakti. No? Without any kama bhakti. How can one do without any kama bhakti? No? For all this, the same question can be asked. Kama, or is you can say it is involvement. Desire is an involvement only. So, everything Nishkama, Nisangatva, Nirbijatva, or Asamprajnata Samadhi. All are them connecting with the involvement. Nisangatva. Sangatva means to get associated with that. Involvement is not there, not involved. Nisangatva. Sangha means to be with that. Sangatva. Adi Shankara's that sloka is there, you see. Bhaja Govindam. That's the words. Nisangatvam and Sangatvam and Dussangatvam. He's singing about that. So Nisangatvam is that not to get associated with that. Sangatvam is that to get associated with that. Sangatvam. Attachment. Sangam here. Sangatva here is attachment. Nisangatva is detachment, not attachment. Nisangatva, not attached, not detached, not attached. There is a difference in two. We have already, I think, described about this earlier also. Not attached is different. Detached is different. Detached is an attachment. Not attached is not an attachment. You got it? That's the difference between them. So, attachment. So, Sangatvam is attachment. When there is attachment, see, Samskrita principle is that when there is attachment, then only involvement will be there. If there is no attachment, involvement will not be there. Yes. Your child fallen on the floor, you cry or shout. Somebody else falls from the 15th floor down, you take a cell phone and take a photograph instead of crying. What a beautiful fall. What else I can say? Fantastic pose while falling, like that. Attachment. There is no attachment. Here there is attachment. Will you feel like taking a photograph when the child is falling? Has anybody done? I don't think. Our own child, when he falls, will we do that? Your child, your grandchild, whatever it is. Where there is attachment, there is involvement. Where there is no attachment, there is no involvement. Got it? So involvement is based on attachment. Involvement is not an independent activity. Before involvement takes place, you have to have an attachment, then only you can involve yourself. So we also say that in our common language, we say that he has done this thing, I have no involvement at all. We say that, no? Many places we say that. No involvement, just for the sake of doing it, he has done it. No involvement in it. You see, we ourselves say that. That tattva, we are talking about it, but we don't recognize and realize what we are talking. So involvement is based on the attachment only. Nisangatam. So sangatam and nisangatam, when it is told, he is talking about the attachment, he is talking about the non-attachment, he is also talking about the involvement and non-involvement. Voluntary involvement and involuntary involvement, everything is incorporated in that. Is called the no attachment. So what happens? The karma, shukla, krishnam, this comes only in the bhava of sangatva. But for a rishi, for a yogi, itaresham, itara, not that. What is itara? Is that he doesn't have any impact on that. So his nisangatva bhava, nisangatva, should it be there, nisangatva? Is it not strange to be, not having any sangatva? Sangatva, is it strange? It's not strange. No, it's not strange. We are all basically characterized and born according to the principles of nisangatva bhava. This is the established factor in us. Sangatva was created by us. Nisangatva was inherent in us. When there is no sangatva, it is the bhava of nisangatva that is existing. Like when there is no involvement, it is the non-involvement or what we call as without doing the karma phalas, enjoying the karma phalas that we make is the truth. So now you understand why dukkha, why did I say that dukkha happens only by effort. Sangatvam happens by effort. From sangatvam only dukkha comes. By yourself there is no dukkha, if it is there. That means yourself. There is no dukkha. You have sangatvam with the sharira, there is dukkha. Now, let's understand that way. Not with other person. You have sangatva with sharira, you have dukkha. Today one gentleman came by. His problem is that he is urinating for 10 times in a day. About few years back, when this happened, it was urinary infection, UTI, whatever you call it. Urinary tract infection, UTI. But there was no pain, there was no fever, there was nothing like that, but there was an infection. Now also I am going 10, 15 times to So he asked me, what is it? He said, no, so many people are telling so many things. And doctor also told, don't do so much of blood test. Every second day he does a blood test to see how his body is functioning. I mean, I'm exaggerating every second day. So frequent, I might say. He said, the doctor told, don't do it before 6 months. Once in 6 months only you should do any blood test and all that. Don't do it so frequently if you don't have any problem. I said, you're not hospitalized. He has what is it? Nay, Guruji, what happens, I know what you're saying is absolutely right. He understands. Now what happened then? If I'm right, where is the problem? I always think of my body that whether I'm falling sick or not. Is this sickness? If I sleep instead of 7 hours, if I sleep 6.5 hours, half an hour sleep is not there. Then I'm worried about it. Why this has happened? He has earlier come to me and discussed. So I have really cleaned him and sent him out. After cleaning, and he said that after coming here, I have cleaned myself quite a lot. But now suddenly the same thought is coming back. I said, he's worried now. Forget about what we have discussed and all that. I didn't mean that what we have discussed to express that. But I want to give an example of him because suddenly it is there fresh in my memory because today morning it has happened. I told you, young man, he's a very young man, very healthy person, young man. I said, look, many people will talk many things are there. I scan you, I tell you that it is not there. Now his problem is what? Now let us say that. Sangatvam with the Shariram. Sangatvam, extraordinary attachment to the Shariram. Any small irregularities, I told that, look, these are all happens. Nobody's blood pressure remains same every second. Forget about every day. Forget about every day, every second. Now you check, after 1 second you check, it's different. Sugar level in everybody changes in every second. Well, it may be within limits, we call it as within limit, without limit, whatever it is. But it is different, it won't be the same reading. Why sugar, I said, because he told me that I checked my sugar also. But before doing the checking, testing of my sugar, I drank one dab. And in the dab, I found out from doctor and from these things, dab contains that, what is that? You take before testing the sugar, glucose. Dab contains glucose. Result, I don't think it is right. Because I have taken glucose. Right. So now I know which glucose has to be pumped into you. So I advised him what my glucose I gave him, then his glucose came down. His glucose came, joking of course. I advised him, a young man, nice person, very good man, very nice person. So that's not the subject actually, in between some jokes. So what is the subject? Subject is that look at him, perfect man, healthy man, and doing everything fine, excellent. And Sangattu. Now this has to be, that Sangattu has to be converted into Nisangattu. This understanding has to be constantly be there, so that is why the brahmachari, that's why I told you that the dukkha comes by an effort of thinking whether I am healthy or not. Even though results are showing, the laboratory results are showing I am healthy, still I am doubtful I am healthy or not. The results are there, and everything is okay, limit. They say it should be 105 pp or whatever it is, and it is 101. Don't you think that it is less? I said, what? 101 is less? That is, we don't know much about it, but little bit of know this 100, below 100 and after 100. That much I know. I don't know much of that. So I said, it doesn't appear to be too much, it's only 4, doesn't matter. Knowledge. So in order to have the Nisangatuda, you should have the knowledge. Where you have to get Sangatu, that's what I said. Anything that is external to you and you get attracted to, you are attached to, is Sangatvam. Whereas anything external to you that you don't get an attachment unnecessarily is a nissangatva. Unnecessary is it. A necessary attachment is there. We don't call it as attachment. As I told you, involuntary and voluntary. An involuntary attachment is there with the Sharira. Because we do Sharira Dharma. We do execute our karmas. But too much of giving importance to that, no unnecessary importance to the particular whatever units that you are having is a problem for you. Then you live in suspicion all the time. You live it in sangatvam all the time. Anything attached to you, it will always very discomfort. You say that you should have freedom, is it not? Even the clothes what you wear, you may be wearing tight clothes, you may be wearing shoes, you may be wearing many other clothes, jewelry, many other things we wear. But the day when we want to sleep, all these things, let us be free from all this. So you create loose clothes, maybe dhoti and this one for men, of course, for others, different clothes. These entanglements, these attachments and entanglements, which are only appreciable by others, not by me. I don't see what is happening here. All others, there are 6 stones, 7 stones. Isko bhi bola tha. He doesn't know 6 stones. What 6 stones, 7 stones? I don't know. But I say that. Somebody else is looking at you and saying, you are not aware of it. Such a thing you are carrying 24 hours. Which you don't enjoy. Do you enjoy it? Tell me honestly. Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying it? No. Because it is there. Sangatva, you see what happens. But it has to be there. In between. Look at the Sangatva created. So Sangatva and Nissangatva. Once we have the knowledge, the Nissangatva with the, so this is called voluntary. One is voluntary attachment, Sangatva. Involuntary attachment also is there, involuntary. Sharira we cannot deny that. We have to take care also. I don't disagree with that. We have to take care. Sharira dharmam, it is there. There is a dharmam there. To that extent only, it has to be attended to. It has to be attended to. And this can be attended through the manner. Toning up of the mind will take place. The attention of Sharira also is what Bhagavan said about to Arjuna. How the mind should function from the Vishada. When the Vishada comes, your body has become so weak you could not carry the Gandiva. But when he became energetic, after just advising, he did not give an injection of steroids. Oh, become Gandiva now. Steroid injection has been put. No. What is the steroid there? Dhyanam. Jnanopadesham. Just jnana, the mind started understanding it. He had a nissangatva with the Sharira, nissangatva with anything and everything where we are fighting and all that. When he had the status of nissangatva, he has become normal. When he has become the sangatva, he has become abnormal. This is what happens in us. So we have to have that nissangatva bhava. For that, knowledge is necessary, jnanam is necessary. That's why we are doing this sat sangatvam. Sat sangatvam will create nissangatva. Sat ke sat sangatva. Sat sangatva creates this sangatva with the objects and objectives and object. Bhutam. Bhautika. Bhutas. Then there will be no Shukla, no Krishna. Status will be Ananda. We will continue with this next class. Om Shanti.